But having said that, I do believe that the real way to influence is by actually creating the jobs, and entrepreneurship is something that can do that. There are many things AI can do, but kindness, compassion, and let's say the human aspect of what we need, that is something that AI is still going to have programmed into it. So it's only as good as the programmer, which is us. So coming back to the young people, well, the future is yours. In effect, I would suggest that you take a look. You have to grab it, and do something with it. But you become influential the more successful you become. So, be successful, not necessarily politics.
That's not always the only way to influence politics or like the system change.
Let's put it this way, I would imagine that, the more successful you are in whatever field of endeavor, be it as an entrepreneur per se, the more influence you will have. Just standing up on a soapbox and trying to change the planet doesn't really work. You can go to Hyde Park and see what's happening over there. They do a lot of soapbox discussions. But the reality is, it's in the action. You create the jobs and people come looking for you, and you can.
Thank you. Others who want to come in on the final set of questions.
Okay.
I can go. I would like to answer my friend from Nagaland. I think, there is a lot of unknown, and I don't think if you consider yourself the youth, I don't think the seniors have the answers either. But I think showing up, being part of the conversation, super important right now. Super, super important. Because I think that inclusivity, that bringing people together is what will create the systems that will drive the next 50 years. We're stuck with the systems we created after World War II right now for business. And if we are going to create a whole set of new systems, you have to be part of the conversation. So to me, that's super important. And I'll quickly chime in on the entrepreneurship angle. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I think it's a great thing now that you can do so many things by yourself that you couldn't or you went in blind before. So when we started Automation Anywhere 20 plus years ago, I remember the first contract we had to write. You probably don't have the funding for a good lawyer. You're kind of going from pillar to post to kind of figure it out, and you're doing that first contract blind. Whereas you have systems in place right now that can aid you in doing that. So I don't think entrepreneurship will become solo. I think it's just the speed that will change. You will move faster, you will scale faster, you will employ faster than ever before. So I don't think it's a solo entrepreneurship model. All entrepreneurs start kind of solo. It's just a speed.
All right. Jay Hui, I think you wanted to come in. Please go ahead.
Hey, how?
So just now, people talked about how to create job opportunities and the next 1 billion jobs. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we live in the time of internet. The online business blows away the offline business, such as the restaurant, catering, the clothing, and the garment and the retails. But they also create online job opportunities, like the video creator, and also the distributors of the video, millions of them. So maybe in the short term, it will take away some jobs, but in the long run, it is a opportunity creator, like I mentioned, in the whole society. AI in our R&D, production, supply chain, sales, decision-making plays a great role, creates a lot of job opportunities. Sometimes the jobs were replaced by AI, but in most sectors, it could not be replaced. Some basic sectors, such as the healthcare, home services, catering, construction, most of them could not be replaced by AI. And I read a book written by Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, such a small country with a small population. and very difficult for the country to develop a large-scale industry. But they find a point of convergence by acting as an intermediary service provider and growing on that business. And the multinational companies can provide the company with opportunity to survive and grow and develop very well. So I think that everyone, like we mentioned, do not be afraid of AI. We should embrace it positively. We keep learning, shape our skills, get adaptive to the needs of the new times. Thank you.
And Pete, final word to you on these questions that we've heard. Any one of those that you'd like to take on?
Well, I'd kind of, actually, if I may group it together around, the one thing we haven't talked about is trust. Because I think it doesn't matter what tools you're using, how much you're investing in education. If your workforce isn't actually actively engaged in whatever you're trying to do, you're unlikely to get the outcome you're seeking. So I think, why do I say that? I say that because levels of trust workers have in leaders is perhaps not where everybody would like it to be. So I think it's, yes, trust the most senior, but really helping line managers have the skills and approach to be able to actually equip and bring the younger entry workers through the world of work is really important as well. So trust is something I think is really important to build as well.
Thank you very much. What I've loved about today's conversation is just how honest and nuanced it has been. I think a couple of years ago, we may have had a lot more hype about how things might be, or a lot more fear. And I think what we've managed to do in today's conversation is really pull together the things that are likely to be risks, but also the many opportunities. And maybe just to wrap up some of what we've picked up, certainly one point that came through loud and clear was this point around entrepreneurship and small and medium-sized enterprises, and those really being the future of those next billion jobs. A second element that came up was the need for both upstream and downstream skilling, training, education, reskilling, upskilling, and that becoming something that happens across our lifetimes. A third point that came up was around that combination of skills. This is not just about AI literacy, not just about technology. It's also about a lot of those softer skills and the ability to work with each other, and that very core question of being able to learn on a continuous basis. And then finally, public, private sector, and educators all working together. And I think each of you have given very powerful examples of when and how that can happen. Now it needs to happen at scale. And this is where, for those of you that would like to stay involved, please join the work of the Future of Jobs Initiative, the Reskilling Revolution Initiative, the First Mile Sandbox, and the Augmentation Sandbox here at the World Economic Forum, so that we can actually get the power and the scale behind all of these opportunities. Thank you so much to our panel, to Jay-Hui, to Pete, to Niti, to Vijay, and to the Minister. Thank you so much. A big round of applause.